do you square the no war promise with the potential of a protracted war?
Well, first of all, the president has consistently, over the course of his entire public life, said he will never permit the Iranian regime to have a nuclear weapon. That's why he took action last summer, and that's part of the reason he took action today. So I don't see this as him starting a war. I see this as a preventative measure to prevent a war against the largest state sponsor of terror in the world. My view is this is a new day for the people of Iran. It's a new day for the Middle East, and it's a new day for the world because the most courageous commander-in-chief of my lifetime said, I'm not putting up with this. We've been banging our head against a wall for 47 years while these guys terrorize the world, and I'm not going to permit it any longer.
And joining me now is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Senator Graham, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you. Again, the mothership of terrorism is sinking. The captain is dead. Well done, President Trump. It's been the policy of this country for decades to eliminate this regime. President Trump did it. Admiral Cooper came out with a military plan that's unbelievable. We're not done yet, but when it is done, Iran will no longer be capable of being the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Tonight on CNN, Scott Jennings says the quiet part out loud about Iran, while Democrats scramble over what just happened. Jasmine Crockett says Trump should have checked with Congress first. But Lindsey Graham calls it something very different. Peace through strength. This isn't hesitation. This is leadership. Roll it.
How do you square the no war promise with the potential of a protracted war?
Well, first of all, the president has consistently, over the course of his entire public life, said he will never permit the Iranian regime to have a nuclear weapon. That's why he took action last summer, and that's part of the reason he took action today. So I don't see this as him starting a war. I see this as a preventative measure to prevent a war against the largest state sponsor of terror in the world. My view is this is a new day for the people of Iran. It's a new day for the Middle East, and it's a new day for the world because the most courageous commander-in-chief of my lifetime said, I'm not putting up with this. We've been banging our head against a wall for 47 years while these guys terrorize the world, and I'm not going to permit it any longer. So when I see these Iranian people in LA and other places celebrating, I can only imagine their emotions and the emotions of the people in Iran who now have a chance to take back their country and restore what was once a great pro-West.
All right, pause. Did you hear what he just said? He's talking about people celebrating a new opportunity, a chance to actually take back their country. That's outcomes. Now watch this. Watch how fast this shifts from something positive, something successful, to suddenly, he should have asked for permission. Roll it.
Joining me now is the Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She's a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committee. She's running for the Democratic primary in the for the Senate in Texas, which is why we had booked you to be on our show, and we always appreciate your time, although the news has overtaken that story for the moment. So I want to get your view, largely as a member of Congress, because we have had wars in that part of the world that have ended up being a real cause of loss of blood and treasure. We can have a debate about whether we should be having a war with Iran, and we don't really have much of a debate about whether the Iranian regime is a bad regime. But Congress was not asked about this.
No, we were not. And that's the problem. You know, there are people that will land on all sides of this conflict and what should be happening or shouldn't be happening. But the one thing that I want to remind the American people of is that we have a Constitution. And frankly, as members of Congress, we have swore an oath to the Constitution as well as the president. And right now, what we are clearly witnessing.
The issue is that they have sworn an oath to the president. And if he did bring this to Congress, if he brought this to Congress and Jasmine Crockett and her friends, they would have stopped him. They would have done everything in their power to not give him this win. That's why we were losing, because of Congress.
And from this administration. And my question to my colleagues in a very serious way is, will you put aside your loyalty to this orange man and actually focus on your loyalty and your oath to the Constitution, which says that.
What if they called her Lash Girl? Would you put your loyalty aside for butterfly lashes? Or Weavy Wonder?
Congress has the power to declare war. It is time to rein him in a bipartisan way.
And do you think that that kind of bipartisan support exists? There's actually a lot more bipartisan support recently in Congress than we had grown to expect over the course of the last year. Whether or not this is about approving a war, it's fundamentally about Congress asserting its role as the branch of government that is constitutionally allowed to determine whether war occurs.
That's exactly right. And listen, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna have been working together quite often on bipartisan legislation, including the Epstein files. And so they do have a war powers resolution that they have been working on together. And I do know that Ro Khanna has made it clear that he wants to bring that to the floor on Monday. My question to Speaker Johnson is how many people are going to have to die because this president just decided that he was going to do whatever he wanted to and to ignore our congressional authority and our congressional powers. I don't think that we should wait till Monday. And this is being said as someone who literally has an election on Tuesday. I've got to make sure that I am doing what I swore an oath to do as a sitting member of the House. And I think Speaker Johnson needs to call us in right now, and we need to deal with this right now.
The authorization for the use of military force, which was passed in 2001 in the wake of 9/11, has been sort of stretched and extended, largely allowing the president certain powers as it relates to certain terrorist groups, named terrorist groups. It didn't name ISIS, but it's been legally thought to understand ISIS. It does not extend to the Iranian regime, whatever one thinks of the Iranian regime. You're a lawyer. At some point, if the administration wants to make a case about why America should be bombing Iran, there are lots of places to make that case. I do want to remind people, the president has not gone to Congress asking for an AUMF. This is not even a debate technically that has happened in Congress.
That's correct. I mean, you know, and here's the thing. I was concerned when he went into Venezuela because I said that because of the cowardice of our Republican colleagues, this was going to give a permission structure for bad behavior. And that's exactly what we've seen. Now, we know that he's been flirting with this. In fact, it was last weekend that I thought that he probably was going to do this because he had.
I'm trying to figure out what bad behavior is. Like when you're saving the country that you're the president of, essentially, that's the best behavior you could be on. But you please explain to me, Jasmine Crockett, with the intelligence that you do not have, and it strikes me that they bring you on television. Well, it doesn't, because this is MSNBC. As we can see, this is Rachel Mascow right here. Roll it.
As a history of doing this right on the weekend when we're not in, when we can't ask questions immediately and demand a briefing immediately. And so it is understandable that people have whatever issues that they have with Maduro, just like you've stated.
Right,
people have whatever
murderer.
issues they have with the regime that is in control over in the Middle East. But the problem that we have is that you are not following the law. Like, that's the issue. If you feel as if you have everything.
Okay, hold on. Okay, who's not following the law more? A, the Islamic terrorist. B, Donald J. Trump, who's protecting the country and freeing people over there in the Middle East. Or C, MSNBC. A, B, or C? Roll it. Wait, or D, Jasmine Crockett.
That you need to actually engage in these types of actions, then why is it that you aren't coming to Congress? That is the big question. And my argument is that because it's not, that you don't have the legal authority. When you go out on your social media platform and you say things like, well, they interfered with the election, that is not a reason to go and drop bombs and kill people and risk the lives of the people that have sworn an oath to protect this country. Right now, people's sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, mothers, and fathers may end up being thrust into a war because of his maniacal issues as relates to an election at the same time that he is flirting with us not even having elections.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, thank you for your time this morning. Again, I'm sorry I wanted to talk to you about Texas. Hopefully you and I will have a chance to talk again before Tuesday.
And that's exactly the difference. One side is talking about results, stopping threats, saving lives, restoring order. The other side, process, permission, politics. But listen to how Scott Jennings finishes this.
LA and other places celebrating. I can only imagine their emotions and the emotions of the people in Iran who now have a chance to take back their country and restore what was once a great pro-Western country. That's the end goal here. No more war but peace and a government and a culture in Iran that can actually participate with the rest of the world instead of terrorize it. That's what the president did. He ought to be commended for. Over 47 years, hundreds of American troops have been killed by the Iranian regime and its proxies. And I talked to senior administration, very senior administration officials today. They had intelligence that the regime was going to fire missiles into U.S. military and civilian targets. They were still enriching uranium. They would not give up on that. We had a lot of justification to do this. They tried diplomacy. Iran wouldn't do it. The president acted to save American lives. That was the justification.